We are going to be talking about solving one and two step equations. I know some of you, you're like, well, I already did this in eighth grade. I remember. Well, guess what? While you're in pre-AP, I want you to get used to doing this as much as you can without a calculator, because when you're taking the PSAT in this year and in the next couple of years, there are sections without a calculator, and you need to know how to do it. So let's get started. I am on page 5, so we have translating right before, and now we've got solving one and two step equations. Those of you wondering about, wait, Miss Samji, what about the table of contents? You haven't gone over that again. Like since the last time we talked about it right here. Well, remember, I am going to be posting this, and this is going to go in your nav bar. It's going to go on the home page. Okay? And I'm going to have a running list of all of this there, and that'll be updating. So, you need to keep up with it from this point forward. Remember, I'm not going to be telling you, oh, don't forget your table of contents. No, that's on you. I believe in you. You can do this. All right, so I'm going to be using quite a few colors and some highlighting today. If you want to use a light color for your highlight, that's cool. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 4 to 5, maybe even 6 colors. They're kind of all over the place. All right, so your first thing that we're going to do is title it. We're going to section it off. So I'm going to do easy 1 and 2 step equations first. These are light work for most of you, but they have the same steps. So your first goal when you're doing this is to solve equations by applying the inverse operation. Uh-oh. There we go. Now we can see a little bit better. All right, so I think we're going to use green today for our highlight. Let's do that. It's kind of weird, pretty green. Solve equations. I want you to remember that. That's equations, not expressions like we were working with in the last section. The expressions don't have an equal sign, while equations, well, it starts off literally like the word equal. And you're going to be applying the inverse operation. Inverse, don't forget, means the opposite. Sometimes I'll also say, hey, we're going to undo this operation. All right. Now your goal right here. Why? Oh, hello, people. You're going to have to isolate your variable. Pretty much, you want your variable all by itself. And I did not think this part through, guys. So we're going to do some quick reorganization. There we go. I know, I cheated, but it's okay. You'll be fine. All right, so in order to isolate the variable, you're going to have to undo or use inverse operations. So here are some one steps. Say you've got x plus 3 equals, I don't know, something, whatever it is. You're going to have to do the opposite of what's happening here. So because it's adding, we're going to do the opposite, which you will get as subtraction. So let's do minus 3. Now, some of you use a line down the middle to separate the equal side from opposite sides of the equation. Some of you use the river. Some of you don't like it at all. That's fine. Do what works best for you. Now, what you do to one side of the equal sign is what you do to the other side of it. All right. And you guys always know that, oh, I'm going to be canceling this out because it's 3 minus 3. Well, yeah, but what's happening? What's causing it to cancel? It's because 3 minus 3 gets you 0. So when you're in my class, I'm going to ask you, well, why does it cancel out? Because I want you to be smarter and I want you to know what's happening there. It's zeroing out right there. And then it'll be your variable is now isolated because it's next to that 0, and it's x equals whatever it was minus 3. The same thing applies when, say, we've got subtraction. So x minus 3 is equal to something, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're going to do the opposite. The opposite of subtraction, addition, do it to both sides of your equal sign, blah, blah. And your minus 3 is going to cancel out because it is zeroing out. I want you to draw these zeros in your papers. I know you don't. Some of you might not like it because it's messy. You will survive. I promise. This is better for you in the long run, which is why I make you do it. Now, all of these 2 sections right here, these are your zero outs. Now, you also have some different ones that we could see. And those are things like, well, if you have something like 5x equals, I don't know, whatever, some number. In order to find the opposite of it, you're going to have to, in order to do the inverse, you are going to divide. And what you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other. But hold on. The reason why we did that, it's not going to zero out. Because 5 divided by 5 is not 0, but it's a 1. So this one, that's why it's canceling out. It ones out, and technically it's a 1x here. But look, y'all. That's like me saying I have 1 scissors. I sound like a dang fool when I say that. I don't. We just say I have scissors. Instead I have 1 scissors. So same thing here. We don't say the 1. We understand that it's there. All right? But it's x. We don't say 1 scissors. We say scissors. So we don't say 1x. We say x. Understand that that coefficient is still there as a 1. So again, this is going to be a 1 out. And the same thing ends up happening right here. When you've got x divided by, let's stick with 5, guys. And x divided by 5 is whatever number. Well, if I'm dividing by 5, then I have to do the opposite by multiplying, and notice how I used the parentheses, the entire thing by 5. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I'm going to do to the other. If it helps you to draw that dot like I just did on the other side, do it. And then 5 divided by 5, 1's out. It's the same thing. We just kind of reorganized it a little bit, and it's x equals whatever. So these are going to be our 1 outs. Now, when you're doing 2 steps, all you're trying to do is make it go down to a 1 step. And if you remember, we did order of operations yesterday. It goes something like, oh man, like PEMDAS, right? Well, when you're solving, you're going to still use PEMDAS. But you're going to write it backwards. And so now it becomes SADMEP. Let's try it out. So I've got 5x plus 8 equals 23 for this. First thing you look for is either subtraction or addition. And I see some right here. I'm going to switch colors just so you guys can see a little better. So 5x plus 8 equals 23. I see some subtraction, or sorry, some addition. So I'm going to use the inverse of it, which is subtraction. And what I do to one side of the equal sign, I do to the other. And I'm going to inverse it out. So 8 minus 8 cancels out because it zeroes out. And this kind of like scooches on over. And now it becomes 5x equals 23 minus 8, which is 15. And hey, look, 5x equals 15. That's kind of just like our problem from the one out. So we divide both sides by 5. This one's out. You get x equals 3 for this. This is important. I want you to draw a box around your final answer. Please, please, please do this for me. It'll help your answer stick out a whole lot more. We're going to be using circles. We're going to be using boxes. But if you draw a box, it makes it neater and cleaner for your eyes. All right. Now, oops. I'm going to be showing you guys some two steps. Oh, okay. This is going to happen right now like this. Oh, okay. So now that we've had that surgery, and you guys will have more room. I don't have as many lines on my paper as you do. Okay, so I am going to be doing now 2 steps with multiple terms. So in that one, we had at least 2 terms. You had 3x plus 8, or I'm sorry, it was 5x plus 8. It's only 2 terms, 5x and 8. In this one, you're going to have a whole lot more. So you're going to end up doing the same thing we've been doing, but first you're going to combine any like terms on each side of the equal. Then isolate the variable. By using your inverse operations. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and change my highlight color because let's do orange so it matches with above. All right, so we're going to do combine like terms is important, and then you're going to isolate the variable by using your inverse operation. So I'm going to highlight those words or underline them, but do it so it sticks out. And here's a problem that we're going to get. 3, and I'm going to switch it to blue just so you guys can see a little bit better. 13x minus 6 minus 4x equals 12. All right, here's something that I do. I like to box and circle things. All right, you guys saw that a little bit earlier. So we're going to look for things that match. So here's the first thing I see, 13x. I take the entire thing and put it in a box. Anything else that matches on here, I'm going to put a box around the entire thing as well for it. In this case, it's going to be this 4x, and we always take the operation right here with it. Because then you can either read it as negative 4x or minus 4x based upon whatever's easier for you in that moment. All right. Some of you might like it to, kind of rewrite it then, be like, oh, it's 13x minus 4x. That's fine. If you need to do that extra step, take it. I will not be doing that, and I will not expect you to do that in pre-AP to show that. All right. Now, you're also probably thinking, well, there's a minus 6 there. Yep, and I'm going to circle it. And I will not, I repeat, I will not circle it with this 12. And that's because the 12 is on the other side. If you remember, those of you that use those double lines, you can't get over there. So leave it on that side for now. You can only get there if you do the opposite. So Let's work it out. We've got 13x minus 4x, which is 9x. Then minus 6 equals our 12. Now it's a two-step, and you guys know how to do this. This is what we've been doing. We're going to do our inverse operations of adding 6 to both sides. So that way we can zero out. You're going to get 9x equals 18. Now you're going to do the inverse of multiplication because that's what's happening with the 9 and the x. There's a tiny little multiplication sign there. Remember I told you mathematicians were lazy? Here it is. All right, and you're going to divide both sides by 9. You're going to get your answer of x is equal to 2. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you guys have any questions.